Hey, we are back right here at the Legends Lounge with the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame. I'm your host, Dan Egan, and it's so fun to be doing these segments with all of the ski heroes and the legends of the winter sports industry. And tonight we have a really special one. What's cool about the Legends Lounge is you don't need a gold medal to get into it. You just have to have some impact on the ski industry. And our guest tonight has huge impact on the ski industry. If you've ever looked at a ski map, and wondered about, someday I want to ski down this trail or head off to the back bowls, and shared that with family and friends before your trip. Well, you've seen Jim's work. Jim Niehues is with us tonight. We're going to look at all of his different maps and how he makes them. But of course, first up, it's the executive director of the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame, my good friend, Justin. Justin, how are we doing?
Dan, we're doing great. We're here in Ishpeming, enjoying the winter coming. The cold months are here. The snow should be falling like it is behind you there in our beautiful animated logo.
Hey, it's snowing always in my mind. And, there's no more fun to be had with family and friends than looking at a trail map. And I'm wondering, did you collect trail maps, Justin, as a young boy up there in Michigan?
We used to have, back before the internet, we'll date ourselves a little bit then. We had, the foldable ones. We had all from different ski areas here in the Upper Peninsula. We had, back in the day, the blackjack, the powderhorn. We'd go to these ski areas. We swore they were on the other side of the planet, and really now they were, really just about an hour and a half, 45-minute drive away. Keep the maps, reminisce about the runs, reminisce about where the good jumps were on the side of the trails. Still doing that today.
As a boy would go to the ski show at Boston, the Boston Ski Show, and collect all the maps and the stickers, of course. And the stickers were fun because we'd put them all over the house where mom didn't want them. And the ski maps were amazing because we'd open them up and look at the names of the trails, the lifts, and dream about the places we would go one day. Jim Niehues was recently elected into the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame. And let's bring him on the broadcast. Jim, how you doing?
Hi, Justin. Hi, Dan. It's good to be here.
It's great to see you. Jim, it was amazing to me when you were at the Boston Ski Show with your new book, just how overwhelming the reception was, how many people wanted to meet you and buy the book. And I was wondering, did you expect that amount of people? Was that overwhelming for you, or was what you've come to know?
Well, we had already had a book signing in Salt Lake City, and I think that was the first time that I really realized, wow, it's just overwhelming the people that really appreciate good trail maps and have been following me. And yeah, it's just unbelievable. I just sat there and signed books until we ran out. It was just so fulfilling that my 30 years of work has really been received like it has in the the ski industry.
Well, I know that your book is front and center in my house, and what I always have loved about trail maps is it's aspirational, it's inspirational, and I can't count the amount of times I thought about where I would go and what it would be like when I got there. I think the ski trail map experience happens in family and friends way before you even go skiing, and I know that that's something that you've thought a lot about, but over the years, has that settled in, the sort of impact off the hill that you've had in the industry?
Well, yeah, I think even back whenever I can remember a meeting with Hal Sheldon, the only meeting that I really did have with him, and a visit to his studio, and he put so much emphasis on the art part of it, not the cartography, and he was a true cartographer, mapping much of the world, and the artistry is the element that encourages people to explore and get into the painting, and I think it's a big element. I've always really recognized that and always strive to do my very best on the artistic side as well as getting the map absolutely correct.
Is it's one thing to paint a map, it's another to have to really use it as a guide and to be accurate, of course. Uh, but every time I look at your maps, I'm overwhelmed by the number of trees. How do you do it? There's so many of them.
Uh, well, there for a while I used a sling. I had a sling hung from the
Wow.
ceiling because I was doing so many trees and maps. My arm would just wear out. I've got a drawing board here that goes up and down. And so I can get it in the position that I need. But holding your arm out there for hours on end, for many hours a day, does get to you. But I've got a technique. The technique is a very quick. And come in and just really put in a tree, just a little vertical um, pattern, and then I'll come back and use water to dissolve that, and then come in and paint in the shadows of the trees and paint in the highlights and the snow. So they take a lot of time. One of these paintings, like for Whistler, for instance, would be a 3 week to a month of solid painting.
Wow, 3 weeks to a month of solid painting. That's amazing. Of course, here in the Northeast and around the world, northeast facing slopes hold the snow longest. They're also in shadow and shade. How do you handle that element of your painting?
Well, whenever I do the aerial flights, I'll get a lot of the definition of the slopes from those photographs, and I'll choose a time of day that is best for that particular mountain to show the shadows in the best descriptive way to especially steep areas. You want the shadow on it. It just makes it look steeper, and it defines then the undulation of the land of the slopes, and so that's I just jump in and do it. I'll work from a sketch once the sketch is done, and use an airbrush for all the snow.
Jim, did you grow up skiing? Is this something that you've always wanted to do it, or how did you tell me about your ski background yourself?
Oh no, I grew up on a farm in western Colorado, and skiing was something that my father didn't do. We did water ski, so I thought I could transfer that skill on into snow skiing, and found out very quickly that it's kind of the opposite. Instead of leaning back, why you have to lean forward, and leaning forward down a hill that's very steep and you can't ski is very catches your attention pretty fast. But I learned, and learned on the job, and enjoyed some slopes. But usually I skied in a little bit of fear.
Was growing up on a farm, did your family were they afraid you're going to be a starving artist?
Oh yes, my dad especially. He didn't see that there would be any way to really make a living with art, and I struggled for many years as a freelance artist. And then I had my own agency with a partner, and that did fairly well. But I just wanted to. Well, I went through a time where I went through a divorce and remarried, and my new wife, Dora, and her two kids and my two kids, we all moved to Denver, and so in Denver is whenever I looked up Bill Brown, purely not for any reason of skiing, but for art. And I'm a landscape artist, and that was really my passion. So whenever I looked up Bill, I was just hoping that he would have some extra work for me, or maybe I could help him out a little bit. And he was looking to something else and get into video aspect of narrow gauge railroads, wanted to record them. And so he kind of turned it over to me, and after he saw my portfolio, he felt confident that I could. So all of a sudden, I just had a career.
That's amazing. I myself, when I look at the map, I always search for your name. Uh, and it's not always obvious. It's a little bit part of the artwork. What went into where you place your name on the maps and how you sort of slide it in?
Well, I early on I realized that whenever I'd sign my name in certain areas, why blocks of copy would go over it, and so because I'd sign it off in a corner somewhere, and then it'd be covered up by the ski area. So I decided, well, I'm gonna tuck it in next to a trail somewhere where there won't be a block copy. So it's kind of strategically placed so that they won't cover it up.
I've always appreciated that, Jim. I really have. And why don't you pull up and show everybody your book? It's an amazing book, The Man Behind the Map, um, and show us what this is all about.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's back in the mid 19. Hey, let's see. Um,
There you go.
the Zoom is kind of difficult for me to maneuver. It's opposite from what I want to do. But this, I first started thinking about this in about the mid 1990s. I thought, I'm doing quite a few trail maps. Maybe someday I'll do enough to have a book, a coffee table book. And I figured that, if I did enough of them, it'd have to be a good book in every ski area in America. So it was several years ago. Todd Bennett emailed me, just a fan, and says, "Hey, I want your book, and if you don't have a book, I'd like to help you put it out." And it was, I immediately felt like, oh, what does he know about putting out books? There's an awful lot to it. But Todd, I gained confidence in him as we talked and discussed it, and boy, they put together a great book. They marketed it well on Kickstarter. It was. Let me get into the pages that really show something, but
There you go.
it just turned out really well, and it's very representative of my work. There's some history in it. A page back here of the history. Here's some pages on how it's put together, and so it really was all encompassing. And Jason Blevins was the writer for it. He took my material and helped me out a lot, and also did an awful lot of research into the history and into the industry for this book. And so it really became just one book that I'm really proud of, and the only book. It's not that I got two books, but hey, we're kind of talking about another.
There's a lot to be proud of there, and of course, I love the fact that Big Sky is on the cover. It's a great map of Big Sky. Enjoy looking at it. Justin, I know you've got a question for Jim.
Yeah, Jim, flipping through your book too, and by the way, obviously our book signing in Sun Valley got postponed and nixed a little bit, but we're hoping to maybe have a virtual book signing. Definitely when you're inducted, whether that's in Sun Valley or Snowmass coming up, we'll figure that out. Looking forward to having another one of those signings for sure.
Looking forward to it too.
Yeah. One question I get all the time, and I'm like, I'm going to ask Jim this exact question is, maybe take us through your recollection, but, getting to and from, a lodge or using the map for navigation, obviously is something we all, take advantage of every day on the slopes. Sometimes whether we know the mountain or not, we're looking at not only how to get from here to there, but how to not be on terrain we don't want to be on, depending on the people in our group. So what I'm asking or talking about is really the the different markings on the trails, whether they're green, blue, black diamond. When did you bring that in, and kind of how did that evolve as these maps started, getting pushed out to the resorts?
Well, that predates me. I'm not sure exactly how the indications came about. I do realize that a black on one mountain isn't the same as a black on another mountain. This was an issue that I was having early on, but the mountains kind of divide their slopes up into their own definition of difficulty, and I think the skiers catch on to that and use it very wisely. So I really don't have anything to do with that. I just paint the painting.
Mm-hmm.
And like you see in the one behind me here, that's what I deliver to the client. And the client will take this and then put on all the markings.
Excellent.
Of course, you do it with aerial photography, Jim. So tell us about that. Do you actually go and shoot the aerial photography? Do they send you the aerial photography? What's that process all about?
Well, I work from both methods. I will go out and photograph it and visit the area and ski it. If it's in the budget for me to visit, there's a lot of small ski areas that just don't have those large budgets. So I'll direct them as to the aerials that I need to shoot it. But yes, it's very important. I'll whenever I do fly it, I'll get about 2,000 feet above the summit, and take a nice broad pan of the whole, shooting different perspectives of the whole mountain, and then I'll lower the plane and at about summit level and shoot the upper mountain, and then drop down to mid-mountain height and shoot the lower mountain and down into the base. So there's a lot of pieces because there's many facets to a mountain, and the slopes can be, of course, 180 degrees up to 360 degrees around the mountain, like Bachelor. But so you take all these, and once I have them in front of me, I can piece them together in my mind and come up with the perspective that you see. Everything's distorted because I have to do that on a flat sheet of paper. But what I really emphasize is that it's all relative, and whenever the skier's out on the mountain, he will relate to the image and relate to the terrain. So it's very important to me to keep it very credible on just the one view.
I find that amazing how you take a 3D image and then kind of put it out, like you said, on a flat piece of paper, bringing into that 360-degree view onto one sheet. It's fascinating. And again, when you do that, you kind of see it in your head first and say, okay, this ridge is going to play well, and you kind of pull it in on the side.
Once I fly it, I pretty much have the only view that'll work in my mind. And so occasionally I'll see where there's another possibility, like perhaps a ski area would rather have two views instead of one if they're a very difficult mountain, and I'll paint two different perspectives of the entire mountain to get both sides. It depends on the client sometimes, and I'll allow them to decide.
You've done so many, I almost 200 resorts. Do you have a favorite?
I'm asked that all the time, but I'm a landscape artist, so my favorites are going to be the ones that are very dynamic with mountains. And but on the other hand, Tremblant, Canada is one of my favorites, just because of the way that it sets. It's a two view, and the entire is represented in both views. So you can see a little bit of the backside on the front view, and you can see a little bit of the front side on the back view. and the tree treatment on that one I really like. So it's the dynamics of the illustration. But I guess I'm from Colorado, so Telluride has to be one of my favorites.
Yeah, nice. Telluride, of course. And I hope they did have the budget for you to ski. Telluride.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I did ski Telluride.
That's good. That's good. Well, we're going to show a clip now that CBS did of Jim and his artwork.
Artist James Niehues might not be a household name, but his work is held in the hands of millions of people every year.
Do you see yourself as a map maker or a landscape artist?
First and foremost, it's a map. Then I really think it's the artist coming in. I really want to produce a beautiful piece.
If you ski or snowboard, you've probably relied on Niehues' work to help you get down a slope or two.
I've done maps for 194 different resorts.
Niehues is the most sought-out ski map maker in the country. For the last 30 years, he's created maps for big-name resorts, from Killington in Vermont to Vail in Colorado, and a heap of others.
You open up something that's pretty to look at and it's been a good map for you, you'll remember good experiences.
Based about an hour north of Denver, Niehues works out of his home studio.
This is an area here that...
His process is fairly simple.
So I'd pull that out, print it.
Using aerial shots, he creates a sketch.
You can see the ridge there that'll come down.
He then projects that onto his easel and begins painting.
Are people always surprised to learn that you hand paint these?
Yes, they are.
I couldn't believe it. I mean, it's when you could use a computer.
No, I can't use a computer.
You couldn't. You couldn't.
No, I wouldn't get the same look. This is water-soluble paint, so you don't want to get your hand on it. In fact, I use a glove here, and this will keep the
one-fingered
the
glove.
moistures. Yeah, there you go. This one will work.
Each of these trees is just a hand brushstroke.
It gives the illusion that there are individual trees.
His latest project, Breckenridge Resort in Colorado, is one monster of a mountain made up of 5 peaks, 187 trails, and 34 lifts. Whether you're a skier or a map maker, this one is no bunny trail.
This is a beautiful map.
So you can just see how vast it is. I knew that I could show that and get it all in one view.
So when you see people holding this map in line, waiting for the lift, you have a little pang of pride.
Oh, yeah, it is nice to produce art that is useful.
Useful in getting skiers, including Niehues, down the mountain.
Whenever I started these maps, I didn't ski hardly at all. So.
We won't tell anyone. It's a secret, Jim.
But I'm an intermediate skier now.
So you've become a good skier because of these maps.
That's right.
You had to.
I had to ski them.
At age 72, Niehues doesn't plan to put down his paintbrushes.
Drawing a little bit.
His soft spot for the slopes hasn't melted away just yet.
It seems like you have a job you love.
Absolutely. You know, I love doing everything that I do. I know that I have probably the best job in the world.
I love watching that piece, Jim. It's amazing. And, you said something in that piece about going for the look you want. And I wonder if you could sort of summarize the look you do go after that you're trying to achieve.
Well, I try to achieve a realistic look because they are maps, and I really feel like the more detail you put into an image, and the colors are certainly enhanced from what you would see on the mountain. The snow isn't that blue, and the trees aren't that green, but I try to keep it so that it is very credible and people can relate to it. And a point that Hal Sheldon had always made out to me was paint the colors as you see them on the ground, not as you see them from the air. And so I just try to make it a very enticing view.
It's a trail map holds 1,000 dreams. Trail map, is one that you rely on bad weather, and it's one you break open sometimes in the summer and dream about the places you want to go. You may go back to or share with others. I know that I do that all the time, and you know, this is not something new to you or lost to you, the artist, and that vision of it. But really, all the way to the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame, uh, you've had a little bit of time to have let that settle in. I wonder what your perspective is on that.
I'm just so incredibly blessed that my art could be used as much as it's used. Not many artists will have the exposure that I have, and their images being used in such a way, it's indescribable. Every day I just thank God that I looked in on Bill Brown and said, "Hey, you got something for me to do," and by golly, he did have something for me to do.
It's always so awesome how one phone call can really change your life. Jim, tell us how people can find that book.
Well, they can find it on my site at jamesniehues.com. Got to spell my name right. It's Niehues. There
it is. And of course, you can always go to skihall.com, read more about Jim and all the people that are in the Ski Snowboard Hall of Fame. And Justin, of course, you're doing it all up there in Ishpeming these days. How's it going?
It's going good, Dan. We're putting this podcast series together. We're really excited about that. We're slowly but surely, making plans and contingent plans for getting people like Jim and his fellow classmates and this most recent year's class of 2020 also inducted. And I think a lot of good stuff is going to come out of the pandemic, the COVID-19 derailment that we've all had. We're looking at doing combo East and West Coast inductions as we get back on pace and are able to safely gather physically, hold our galas or our fundraising events and inductions as we did prior to the pandemic. So people like Jim, I appreciate more than you can imagine, in a sense, that you're patiently waiting for us to get back online. We're just figuring it out, Dan. Thanks to people like you, we're able to meet with these game-changing athletes and sport builders and pioneers, and show the world, show the industry what these incredible people have done. A lot of the people that think of Hall of Fame, as think of athletes primarily, but to get somebody like Jim is incredible. Every year, half people are from the athlete category, people that really made the industry, what it is, whether it's on the resort side, inventors, filmmakers. As you see in the Legends Lounge here, we kind of get it all.
It's a great honor to be in the hall. It's I never dreamed that this would ever happen. So just to have my art recognized and to the degree that it is, and be accepted into the hall is a great honor. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations once again, Jim. And you've been here with us at the Legends Lounge with the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame. And once again, stories that really change lives and lives that have been changed. And we'll see you next time right here on the Legends Lounge with the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame.